Welcome back, friends. It is a new week and we are here again in the Coastal Seafoods production kitchen. I'm Kian and we're going to walk through a really simple, delicious recipe today that's really quick to make. You can utilize a lot of different seafood options here, and it's kind of inspired by that classic San Francisco sort of fish stew, Cioppino. Fish stew is one of the world's most common recipes. So I wouldn't go so far as to say this is a traditional Cioppino or anything like that, but it's definitely something to give you similar flavor profiles, comes together really quickly, and is really delicious. I've got some really beautiful clams. Let's get up close here and show you that we're going to be working with today. Got some mussels here, always good. Got some really nice shrimp for this as well, along with some really beautiful fresh cut halibut. Absolutely stunning. This is the wild Alaskan halibut that we've got in. Beautiful, still at the beginning of that season. Really nice stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and work with that. And I'm gonna get my pan started here. Get that warming up. There we go. And when we do that, I'm gonna get some things prepped here. Very simply. We're gonna use some just basic vegetables. You could do a lot of different stuff with this. You could go full aromatics and do your carrot, celery, and onion. But we're actually gonna be starting our broth base to kind of speed things up. This works really well. This is our Bloody Mary mix. Now you've seen me make mussels with this before, but I'm gonna go on and do a full-on kind of fish stew here. And I'm gonna use this as my broth base. This is gonna be great. This is gonna give us a lot of flavor and really help kind of speed up the process here. So I'm gonna start by just rough cutting some shallots to build a base. Again, this is all about kind of building our base flavors. And again, you could use any kind of aromatic vegetables you wanted here. If you had leeks, you could do leeks, onions, carrots, celery, lots of different stuff. Fennel would be fantastic here if you've got a bunch of fennel laying around that you're not sure what to do with. Just thin slice it, put it in here, cook it down until it gets nice and soft, and use that to build flavor. Again, that fennel is a really nice way to add some really fresh flavor, and that sort of anisey flavor that it's got is very traditionally paired with seafood, much like Pernod would be in a bouillabaisse, which is another very classic sort of fish stew. And what I'm gonna do is I got my pan warming. I'm gonna add some olive oil to my pan, pretty generous amount. This is gonna add some good flavor. We're using a pretty decent olive oil here. In fact, a really good olive oil. And I'm gonna go ahead and just start sweating down my shallots. You can hear as soon as they hit, it starts kind of cooking off, which is great, exactly what we want. So I just want these to sort of soften down. I'm not really looking to get color on them. Again, I just want them to kind of wilt and start to get soft in that olive oil. And I'm also going to prepare some garlic, which I've already peeled. I'm going to go ahead and just sort of smash this with my hand and my knife. This is going to help you cut it down a little bit finer, a little bit quicker. So I'm just going to run mince. It looks like maybe we have some questions here, so let's see. Oh, nice. Halibut cheeks and risotto. Beautiful. Gotta love that. Again, those fresh halibut cheeks were beautiful this weekend. You could use those in something like this. That would be great too, just poach them off. Or you could sear them off a little bit ahead of time and finish them in the broth. That would also be great. So again, I got some just rough chopped garlic here. Those onions are starting to soften, so I can go ahead and add these in now. And we're just gonna give that garlic like a minute or two to cook. Again, we don't want it to start taking on color. We don't want to burn the garlic or anything like that. Burned garlic is one way to really take your dish sideways fast. It adds kind of a bitter, acrid flavor. But again, I just want to cook this until that garlic starts getting really nice and aromatic. And then we're going to add some more kind of flavor building to this. This is going to be really nice. I'm going to add a little bit of salt here. This will help draw out some more of that liquid from the onions and the garlic. And again, really help us build that base flavor. This is smelling fantastic. That garlic is really already coming to life, which is perfect. The onions are nice and soft. Let's get kind of a shot into the pan here, what we're looking at. You can see it's nice and golden, really beautiful already. And exactly what we're looking for. So at this point, these onions are nice and golden, like I said. I'm gonna go ahead and add in just a little bit of white wine to kind of add a little bit more flavor. This is gonna add sweetness, it's gonna add some acidity, and again, it's gonna really help deliver a real nice base flavor. And we're gonna cook this white wine until it's basically reduced all the way out. We wanna make sure that we cook off all that alcohol flavor. If you leave it in there, it's gonna give kind of a weird flavor at the end. So if you're cooking with wine, alcohol like that, you really wanna make sure to cook it out. And if you're using something a little bit more combustible, always make sure to remove it from the heat, then add your liquor, then back on. Because again, Pernod would be really nice here. Again, it gives you that sort of anisey sort of flavor like we were talking about with the fennel. But this a little bit of white wine is very, very nice. And again, always use something that you would drink, because it's nice to have a glass to go with this. You can see it's already nearly reduced down. We've got a bit of liquid in the pan. So I'm gonna let this go for just like another 30 seconds or so until it's just cooked down a little bit more. And you can smell when that alcohol starts to cook out. It starts to get like a little bit of a sweeter smell, a little bit less astringent, which again is exactly what we're looking for. So this is perfect. So I'm gonna turn my heat down just a touch. And this is where I'm gonna add in my broth base, which again is this Bloody Mary mix. This is the really nice stuff. This is Sucker Punch. This comes to us from down in Chicago. They do a really great job with this. Makes a great Bloody Mary. But also, I use it a lot for cooking. People are often surprised, but it really does make a great base for all kinds of stews and sauces. So it's a very functional kitchen tool, I would say. Great ingredient to have on hand, and it's gonna make this taste absolutely delicious. So I'm gonna bring this together and just let this kind of warm through and let that come up to a bit of a simmer. And once that gets to a simmer, I'm gonna go ahead and start adding in kind of my seafood. And that's gonna deliver even more flavor and really help kind of make this whole thing pop. Because if you've ever made mussels or clams, things like that, you'll know that the secret ingredient to anything that they're in is actually them themselves. That moisture, that liquid that they have inside, generally referred to as liquor. So the clams will have liquor, mussels, oysters, all that stuff. That liquor seeps into your broth and just changes the dynamic and adds a ton of flavor, adds a little bit of saltiness, which is always nice. And we're starting to get a nice little simmer going on here, which is perfect. So what I'm gonna do to get this started, again, I'm gonna just reduce the heat just a little bit, keep that simmer rolling, and I'm gonna add in my clams first, because clams are gonna kind of take the longest. So I'm gonna add in these clams, and I'm gonna let those start steaming through. And I'm actually gonna cover my pot, because I want those to steam, I want them to open, I want them to release all that goodness that's inside of them, and really lend that to the broth. And while that goes, I'm gonna prep my fish. Again, I've got this beautiful halibut here, wild Alaskan halibut, absolutely gorgeous. And I'm gonna chunk this up and let that poach in that broth as well. And the halibut is gonna be kind of the next thing that's gonna take a little bit. Now this is skin on, so I'm gonna remove the skin here. A lot of fish, the skin is really great to eat, but halibut, the skin can be kind of tough. So we wanna remove that, which I'm just gonna do like so, and get these into chunks. Now again, the halibut cheeks that we had this weekend would be great here. Those could go right in the broth in chunks. And I'm just gonna cut these into about inch-sized pieces, kind of bite-size. Halibut is a really good fish for this kind of thing because it tends to stay intact and not completely flake apart, which is great. Monkfish would also be absolutely fantastic here. There's a lot of different fish that would work well. Grouper is nice here. Something that's big will help kind of hold that fish all together inside the pot. So these clams are coming together, steaming nicely. So I'm gonna add in my chunks of halibut. This already smells absolutely fantastic. Just like so, and I'm gonna let those poach. I'm gonna give those a few minutes to kind of do their thing. And then, right as the clams are starting to open, I'm gonna go ahead and add my mussels into the mix, allow those to steam. I'll add my shrimp, and then everything will just sort of come together really, really nicely. Remember, with clams and mussels, it's really important that your clams and mussels are closed tightly. Let's see what we can do here. So here's a great example. You see that mussel is fully closed. That's exactly what you're looking for. Now, sometimes what you'll see is one that will be sort of partially opened, like so. And what you want to do is take two mussels and tap it together. Now, you can see that mussel closed right on up, which that means it's still alive and we're still good. If it doesn't do that, you want to make sure to just discard it. You don't want to be using open mussels, things like that. Generally, we try to check them for you beforehand, if possible. But just go through and give them the tap test. If you find one that doesn't quite close, then just get rid of it. These are all closing up very nicely, so I'm good to go here. So let's go ahead. My clams look like they're starting to do what they need to do. That halibut is poaching off. This is looking and smelling absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna turn down my heat because it's ripping pretty good. I'm gonna add my mussels to this, like so. Just drop them in and around. This is gonna be really fantastic. And we're getting a lot of flavor here, which is exactly what we want. Same with the shrimp. The shrimp's gonna go in. I left the tails on. You can leave the tails on or off if you want. Just sort of depends. And you could add all different sorts of seafood in here. If you wanted to add some king crab, you could certainly chunk up some of those crab legs, put them right in here, in the shell. A lot of times stews like this are a messy endeavor, which is totally fine. And fun. You get your hands in there, you get your crusty bread, and you just build this really beautiful fish stew. Again, fish stew, really popular the world over. There's all kinds of Spanish varieties, Italian varieties, Asian varieties, African varieties. All over the world, this is a very, very popular style dish. Done in many different ways, with different flavor profiles and things like that. But it's just such a great way to get a lot of bang out of your buck when it comes to seafood. Again, we're developing a ton of flavor. We don't necessarily need to use a lot of fish, but we're gonna get something that's really satisfying in the end, which is great. That's exactly what we want. We do sell the Bloody Mary mix, of course, and it's great stuff. I am a big fan. So what we've got here, I've got a few basil leaves. This is gonna add just a little fresh flavor kind of towards the end. I don't want to put them in there too early. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chiffonade these, which means I'm going to roll them into a little almost cigar shape, like so. And then I'm just going to thinly slice. Now basil is a fairly delicate herb, so you don't want to be mincing this. You cut it once, and that's it. If you go through and you slice it like this, and then you take your knife and ram it through like so, the basil is all going to turn black. And that's exactly what we want to avoid here. We want to keep that nice sort of green color intact. That shrimp is poaching off nicely. Those mussels are opening. Those clams look fantastic. So I'm going to give that just another kind of minute or so, and then I'll add my basil, stir it all together, and then we'll finish off. I'm going to get a bowl ready. Got a nice little bowl here for this that we're going to just load up with all kinds of beautiful fish. Now again, serve this with some crusty bread because you want to get all of that broth together. And this is going to be beautiful. This is a great, quick weeknight dish. Again, you've watched me prep this from start to finish, which is something I really like to do for these videos so you can see how quickly some of this stuff goes. You know, I'm not editing this. This is full on how long it takes. which is clearly not long. Again, you can see these shrimp really poaching through nicely, almost done. And just the smell coming off of this is absolutely unbelievable. Those clams are opening up nicely, which is exactly what we want. We want them to give off all that beautiful liquor that they've got inside them. So actually I am gonna go ahead and add my basil now because everything is getting pretty close. So I'm just gonna kind of sprinkle this over the top generously like so, and just let this sort of do its thing. And then all we're gonna do to finish this is hit it with a little fresh lemon, just to add that last minute brightness. And we're gonna have ourselves, again, a truly, truly delicious little dish. If you want, if you like a little heat, which I tend to a lot of times with this, I did use the spicy Bloody Mary mix. We've got both the spicy and the regular. The spicy isn't crazy hot, but it adds just, again, a little bit of depth of flavor, which is something we want here. But I'm gonna take it a little bit further and add a little bit of this Crybaby Craig's. This is a local hot sauce that I love a lot, and it'll go really nice in here. So I'm just gonna add a few shots to kick it up. You could do some Tabasco, you could omit it entirely if you like it not spicy. Do however you want. Yeah, really, really great. So this is very, 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 very near done. And I'll give you a shot into the world of what we're building here in just a second. Just want to give those clams that last minute to just kind of fully pop and do their thing. And to show you, I'm going to grab a little spoon here. Moreover, a large spoon. And we'll take a quick look. Oh yeah. So those clams have popped. Those mussels have popped. This is exactly what we're looking for here. So let me come over and show you. Get a nice spoon together. So see how those are wide open? That's exactly right. And you're looking to cook this right until those pop like that. Very, very simple. Again, it comes together super fast. These shrimp are nice and poached through. I can see that halibut is nice and chunky and flaky, cooked all the way through. This is perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn down my heat. And I'm gonna hit it with some fresh lemon. What I've got right here, just got it prepped, ready to go. Give it a nice little squirt in there. And that's gonna just brighten it all up. And we have a very beautiful dish here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start by just spooning in some of the shellfish. Let's get some, make sure we get some shrimp in there, like so. Let's get some of this halibut, like this. Absolutely beautiful. Now let's do a couple more mussels. And maybe another little shrimp here. This is great. So now what I'm gonna do is get some of that broth. Now normally at home it'd probably be better to do this in like an actual sauce pot or something, something meant for soups, but I wanted to be able to kind of see a little bit more about what I'm going on, so I did this in a pan. This is fantastic. And this is the kind of thing that's nice, you know, it's starting to get warmer, so soups and stews aren't necessarily on the mind, but this is the kind of thing that you could make, sit out on your patio with a nice glass of white wine, and just really enjoy. That's perfect. Let's go ahead, I got some fresh chopped parsley here. You could finish this with some cilantro if you wanted to. Lots of things. Stick a piece of crusty bread in there. And again, you've got yourself a just really, really, really nice fish stew. And you saw how quickly it cooked and came together, which is exactly what we want. Let me show you what we're looking at. So you can see there, look how nice that is. All that seafood, again, some crab legs would be fantastic in here. Snow or king crab would be nice. If you had a can of our Maribel crab, you could definitely throw some of that crab into that broth just at the end, just to heat it through since it is pre-cooked. But you've got this just really beautiful bowl of soup here that is just fantastic. Again, this is certain to be a hit. Really good stuff, so easy to make. You watched how quickly it came together. Just absolutely gorgeous. And I hope you do make it just like everything else we're doing. We've been tagged in a lot of photos. I'm seeing a lot of people make stuff, which is awesome. Definitely take photos of what you're making. We always encourage that. I mean, you know, I'm the social media person here, so I love seeing this stuff come full circle, showing you how to make it, work with all these beautiful seafood items, and then seeing the end results at home. So definitely cook this, make it, take pictures, show me, I want to see. Otherwise, thank you again so much for tuning in again today. We'll be back tomorrow talking about something really special that I love very dearly. Our friends from Shoreline Wilds up in Alaska, we've got a bunch of their salmon on feature this week. That would also be great in here. Just chunk up the salmon instead of the halibut or alongside the halibut, and just add a great dynamic. So we'll be talking more about that tomorrow. So tune in. Otherwise, stay safe, keep eating well, and we will be back tomorrow.